Welcome to Hashtag General, everybody. I am your host, Logan Studley, and with me, as always, is my other host, Chris Nakamura. How you doing, Chris?
Good.
Good.
Doing
It's
great.
been
It's hot.
It's hot. It's really hot. So we're gonna just apologize now. Yes, you do hear the fan.
Yeah, it's hot. It's LA. It's summer. It's hot.
I don't think it did it. I know it hit 100 like a week ago.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it's a nice, cool, refreshing 90.
Well, like that's the kind of thing where LA is so weird because like, the weather is always nice and it's for the most part very chill weather-wise. And so when the weather kind of peaks up or down slightly, everyone freaks out. But and for summer it usually hits a little later.
Yeah, I'm used to this hitting in like August.
Yeah, so it's a little early and it's hot. So I'm not used to this, not ready.
So apologies for the fan. Actually, no apologies for the fan. We need the fan. But yeah, that means you're probably gonna get like a on the noise. And
That's fine. They can deal with that.
If that's the price we pay for not being drenched in sweat, I will pay it.
Also, if you're watching this anyway, it won't bother you.
There are worse things.
If the sound of our voices and the things coming out of them don't turn you off to this show, then you're going to keep watching.
Well, I guess let's dive in.
Sure.
All right.
What do you got?
So, you almost died, not literally, but spiritually.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
Where do I even start this story?
I don't know. I want you to tell it because
So,
it makes me laugh.
I guess I can go into the whole thing. So, I guess for anyone not watching, I'm a huge basketball fan. I'm a huge Laker fan, obviously. I'm wearing the hat, right? So, like, I grew up a huge Laker fan. The city of LA is a Laker town, pretty much. It's a basketball town, and it's a Laker town. Like, the Dodgers are really good. The Rams just went to the Super Bowl, and all anyone can talk about is the Lakers right now. So it's that kind of a city where the city really dictates based on how the Lakers are and how they play. And in the middle of the season, if they're really good, the whole city kind of bumps up in terms of their mood.
Everyone gets hyped.
Right. And so, and like you've lived here long enough, like you've seen kind of like that up and down and that experience, right? And so trying to think of like the best way. I guess I'll just start from the beginning because I've had so many people. This has been such a huge story and it's been on my timeline for so long that I've had so many people message me of like, what is going on with this? And so I typed up this 2-page thing and I just have it in a Google Doc and I just send it to whoever asks me what's going on.
Oh, because I didn't like ask you what was going on so much as I like had followed you enough to know that you were freaking out.
Yeah. So
and I heard I guess to step ahead a bit to where I kind of step into the like your blip on radar on the story is I overheard people talking about it on Metro and I messaged you.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with the beginning. So the two most historic franchises in Laker history or in NBA history are the Lakers and the Celtics, right? So the Bulls have the third most championships in NBA history with 6. The Spurs, I think, have the fourth most with 4. And the Lakers have 17 and the Celtics have 18. Okay, so
It's a two team league.
Right, in the history of the NBA, of course now it's pretty even across the board, but I mean in the history of the NBA, it's been Lakers Celtics, and so those two franchises have like a lot of history to them. Now, obviously the Lakers have had a couple down years, and the main reason why, I guess you could kind of contribute to the downfall of Kobe Bryant and like the end of his career, where we gave him a ton of money, more not because he deserved the money, but he deserved the money more because of like a symbolic, like Kobe is still a top player. He's still one of the best players in the league. Like we're going to give him the biggest contract ever.
Well, he also spent his entire career as a Laker.
Yeah. So he's probably going to go down as the greatest Laker of all time. Or him or Magic Johnson, right? So, but Kobe Bryant essentially had one of the greatest careers of all time, but we gave him what is by today's standards still a pretty gigantic contract. Just saying something considering like the Supermax contract and how much money they can make now. But we gave him a ton of money in like 2009, right? Or like 2011, like a long time ago. So we gave him a lot of money, and so it ruined our cap for a long time. And then so when he went down, we didn't really have a lot.
You didn't have any like
young pieces or depth to build on. And so the last couple of years have been us stockpiling young players and doing a really good job drafting and getting a lot of young talent. And then last year, LeBron James came, who's the greatest player on the planet. He's going to go down as one of the greatest either the greatest or the second greatest player of all time when it's all said and done, right?
Yeah.
So he came, and that was a big deal, mainly because his family likes to live out here. He has a couple homes out here. He wanted to start a production company. He's working on Space Jam 2 right now with his production company. So
Come on and slam.
Right. So, like, you got to jam, right, when you're coming out here. So the thing is with LeBron James coming out here is that instantly puts us in contention for a championship, right? And so while our young guys are great, some of them are injury prone, and they're just not ready for the moment to compete at that high level because they still have a lot of growing to do. They're like 19, 20. They're not young and not old enough. So long story short, Anthony Davis, who plays for the New Orleans Pelicans, asked for a trade. There's a whole debacle of like they don't want to trade to us. They're
still mad.
About the same
Super Bowl.
stuff, right? So like whatever, because the owner of the Pelicans also owns the Saints. So like that's a big deal. She didn't want to reward LA again. Right, so Anthony Davis pretty much just didn't want to be in New Orleans anymore. Anthony Davis is a one of the best players in the NBA. He's a top 5 player. He's unbelievably talented. He's like a generational talent, right? We've never seen this kind of guy before.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a shoe. He didn't get voted into the All-Star game. He had to be coach picked to be in the All-Star game because the fans didn't vote enough for him. Okay, so this is like what it's like being a New Orleans Pelicans player, right? So
you're kind of just there.
Like fuck, he's considered to be a generational talent, and he doesn't have a shoe. You don't have a shoe.
Oh, New Orleans.
Okay, so he of course wants to get traded. So long story short, we ended up trading a ton of assets, young players, all kinds of stuff to get Anthony Davis, right? So now we have probably the best duo in the NBA with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Now, comes in Kawhi Leonard. Now, Kawhi Leonard is, again, another top 5 player in the NBA. He was with the San Antonio Spurs, and he also wanted out of San Antonio because he felt like they mismanaged one of his injuries, and he didn't like that. And so the rumors that he has chronic arthritis and issues with his knees, which is a problem.
Yeah,
and so
especially in basketball.
Right. And so he wanted to go to a place with a better training staff and a place he trusted. And so he grew up in LA. And so, of course, he asked for a trade to the Los Angeles Lakers. But the Spurs are salty because the Spurs and the Lakers have had a lot of battles over the years. And Greg Popovich, their head coach, is a Laker, like, fuck the Laker guy. And so he refused to trade him to the Lakers, and so instead he sent him all the way out to Toronto.
Oh, geez, and that didn't go well for anybody.
So, well, actually...
this is the one time I know something.
In the one season that he was with the Toronto Raptors, he won them a championship.
And Canada is still salty about the fact that it isn't a hockey championship.
Right, but it's unbelievable what he did. He played great, all kinds of stuff. So now he's probably the hottest commodity, and he's going to be a free agent, right? So he can go anywhere he wants. So, of course, remember, he grew up in LA, he grew up a Laker fan, he wants to come to LA. Now, while this is happening, the Clippers with Steve Ballmer, the Microsoft guy, who's their owner, have been courting Kawhi Leonard all year, right? Sending scouts out to meet with him at the end of every game, like, hey, Kawhi, good game, whatever. Taking him out to dinner, doing all kinds of anything they can.
Whining and dining and treating. And
all year, trying to get Kawhi Leonard, right? So the free agency happens, opens up, and the Lakers traded a bunch of other assets away. Anthony Davis had a $4 million trade kicker, meaning that in order for the trade to complete, the Lakers would have to give him an extra $4 million. That's a way to protect New Orleans from, like, you know, whatever, kind of making, just de-incentivizing teams to trade for Anthony Davis, right? Anthony Davis waived his $4 million trade kicker, like, you keep it, don't worry about it.
I want to come.
I want to come, and then plus it gives the Lakers $4 million more in cap room, so they have enough for a maximum contract, which is what it would take to get Kawhi Leonard. Right, so Kawhi Leonard's 3 teams that he was interested in were the Clippers, the Lakers, and of course going back to Toronto where he just won a championship. Yeah, of course it's easy to go back to the team you just won a championship with the staff you trust and the team you know you could win with. Right? Yeah, easy. Now, I'm not losing anyone yet, right? Like you're still with me?
I'm still with you only because I've been following you.
Right. So now if Kawhi Leonard joins the Lakers, we now have a historically great 3-player team, and then you just fill the rest with like minimum contracts and like veterans, right? Absolutely insanity. Like they just dominate the league, whatever. So there's all kinds of rumors. People were tracking planes back and forth. Like he's flying to Toronto. He's meeting with the Raptors. No, wait, he flew back. No, wait, he's at a gas station in San Diego. No, wait, where is he? And so there's all this stuff, and it's a week of this, right?
Dude, there's basically it was like a week of watching you, because I don't really follow like Laker Twitter because it's not hockey, but watching you basically have like a mental meltdown on Twitter.
Well, because it's this thing of the entire NBA, it's a domino effect, right? So like, hey, wherever Kawhi Leonard goes, that team instantly becomes a contender, and they have the ability to sign other free agents, or there's more money that teams are like. The Lakers have money, Clippers have money, Toronto has money. Everyone has money.
No one wants to sign anything.
No one has to sign anything
if that means they can't sign him,
right?
And all the other players don't want to sign anything because they want to play with him,
or there's like more money available, right? So like, why would you take the minimum from this team when the Lakers could offer you more if they don't get Kawhi Leonard, right?
Exactly.
So like, why would everyone's just waiting for Kawhi to make this decision? Now Kawhi is a notorious slow decision maker. So there's a story of him going to college. He went to San Diego State and played for Steve Fisher. And so Steve Fisher said that they weren't even sure if Kawhi was going to come to their school until he showed up for summer school classes. Like, he just showed up and was like, oh, I guess he's coming to San Diego State. Great, now we have him. So stuff like that, right? So there's all kinds of rumors back and forth. There's all these leaks, all this stuff going on. Everyone's trying to figure it out. And then all of a sudden, like some random Saturday night, he just tweets a picture of the Clippers logo. And so the whole NBA goes, what the fuck, the Clippers? Because the Clippers are like the notorious like shit franchise that no one ever wants to play for, because they're like the little brother of the Lakers, right?
Yeah.
You're just like in the shadow of the Lakers, and they never win anything.
It's the Mets.
Right. So then what happened was that Kawhi ended up, I guess, talking Paul George into demanding a trade from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Paul George is another top 10 player. And so he just signed a contract with the Thunder last year. So he still has 3 years left on his deal. Now, the funny thing about Paul George grew up in Palm Springs, grew up a Laker fan, wanted a trade from the Pacers, demanded to be traded for the Lakers. They said no, trade him to the Thunder. Then when he was a free agent, I guess he liked it in Oklahoma City so much, he didn't even take a meeting with the Lakers. He just like went to re-sign with the Thunder. And so like Lakers fans were like very much fuck Paul George. So then I guess he demanded a trade from the Thunder with 3 years left on his contract, which is kind of a dick move because you just signed that thing.
Yeah.
And then so the Clippers sent over a king's bounty to get Paul George, which made Kawhi Leonard sign. So now they have a great duo, and they're a championship favorite. So now both the Clippers and the Lakers are championship favorites in the NBA. Like, they're 1 and 2 in the NBA, which is absolutely insane, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Plus, that set off another thing, because now the Oklahoma City Thunder aren't in contention for a championship anymore, which means Russell Westbrook, their other star, demanded a trade as well. So then, like, this whole thing of, like, a domino effect of just the entire NBA just reshifted in the matter of 2 weeks.
And it's all because of this
It's all because of Kawhi Leonard, right? Which is absolutely crazy. If he just went to the Lakers or just went back to the Raptors, nothing would have
happened. Yeah.
But like, because he went to the Clippers, it completely restructured how the entire NBA looks right now, which is absolutely insane. But okay, continue. Moving on, because that was way too much information.
That was way too much information about something that I'm sure everyone here was like, yes, this is why I tune into Two Nerds.
I know.
No, I guess the final thing before we actually jump into our main stuff is the earthquake.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
First one, I was in bed, so me and Samantha were kind of just like hanging out in bed. She was watching cartoons on her iPad, and I was sort of just like half awake. And then the whole room started shaking, and she got up and she asked me what was going on. And I was like, "Oh, it's an earthquake." And then so she tried to like surf the bed, you know, like whatever. It's whatever kids do, right? So whatever. But yeah, and then the second one, we were at the mall in Target, and like that place cleared out hella fast.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because the second one was like way stronger and way longer, and so
that second one was a good over a minute. Both times I was here at home. The first time I was doing dishes, and James has a little like wheeled. Right, sure. You can see it. It's right here. It's all just off screen.
It's like a cart.
It's a little cart on wheels, and it has like a bunch of like glass wine bottles. And so I'm like doing dishes, and all of a sudden it just starts rattling. I'm like, is a truck driving by? And it just kept going. I was like, no, it's not a truck. This is an earthquake. Okay, and just kept doing dishes.
Time out first. I'm imagining James with this wine cart, like wheeling it over to me and like serving me wine with the white cloth.
Yeah, would you like some wine, sir?
Continue. Second time.
The second time, I was doing some work for, and this is something we talked about in a previous show. I've been working recently for Saving Throw, their channel on Twitch. And they were doing a broadcast at the time. So they're live. Their studio is in LA. And so they're live, and all of a sudden they're broadcasting, and an earthquake happens. And so they're on camera just going, wait, what's going on? And we're all just like, earthquake. And so it's really fun is there's this over a minute long thing where they're like, is it still going on?
Yeah.
Because it literally went for, I think, a minute and a half?
Dude, and it's crazy to look at because like, we're pretty far away from where the epicenter was.
I think we're just under 200 miles away.
Yeah,
as the crow flies.
So we can feel it, and it's like it's not significant, but like we can feel it to the point where it's like, okay, we don't know what's gonna happen next, but when you watch videos from like the epicenter, that's the scariest thing.
It's so crazy. Did you? I shared the one of the swimming pool with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you see the one of the grocery store?
Yeah, I saw it. Where basically I saw the photo of the grocery store. I don't know if I saw a video.
Oh man, because it ramps up, right? So it kind of like you're kind of seeing it spin, and all of a sudden just like, and all the bottle, like all the wine,
everything just
like,
goes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I forget the name of that town out there. Basically, it got shut off from everything because the main highway in split in two.
Yeah, so like
literally, it just was like.
I know they've asked for
No
their federal assistance already.
I think we've got federal assistance.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like to that point where it's like this is pretty dangerous.
Like basically, the big reason why a lot of people are like breathing sighs of relief is from what I've heard, no one has died.
Yeah. Which is thank God no one died, but it's not to lament the fact that it's completely serious.
It's a very serious.
It's a very serious.
We're all lucky it didn't die, but everyone else is also pointing out we're all very lucky the epicenter was 200 miles away from a major population center. Otherwise, there would be dead people.
Right.
And we probably wouldn't be broadcasting today as much as fighting for survival.
To be fair, the valley in particular where we live is pretty safe from earthquakes just because of the way everything's built and the way that like the valley is structured. I don't think we'd be in too much trouble. We'd
be in trouble if like the epicenter was here, but not because the epicenter was here, not because of like infrastructure problems.
Right. Because like everything is built. If you don't live in LA or if you haven't been to LA is pretty like everything's prepared for earthquakes. Everyone and everything is prepared for an earthquake, and so we're just kind of waiting for it to happen. Although I was telling because Jenny was getting a little freaked out of like, oh wow, like earthquakes are happening, like. Where are we gonna get the big one soon? And I was like, actually, it's better that we have all these like other earthquakes because it's just gonna lessen the tension on the fault, right?
Yeah, that's the hope. Yeah, it lessens the tension on the fault, and that means no big one in LA, or ideally no big one in LA. But I put a picture out on Instagram because I went grocery shopping the next day, and the water aisle was just gone empty.
Oh yeah,
it was just like no water.
Out.
Everyone was like stockpile, and I was just like, okay, we have water around here somewhere,
right?
But yeah, no earthquake. That was
crazy. It's crazy.
Fun. Right. So let's actually move on to James. Let's switch it up to games.
This is an interesting one.
So Nintendo announced new Switch hardware. It's called the Switch Lite. I haven't had a chance to look too deep into it.
Okay.
So why don't you fill us all in?
So it's small. It's a portable Switch. A portable only Switch, right? So it doesn't work in docked mode. The Joy-Cons don't come off. It is a single-bodied unit. It is smaller. It's slightly bigger than what you would think a new 3DS XL would look like. But it is smaller than a regular Switch. It's $200. It is.
That was the big thing for me.
Right.
Is the price point is pretty awesome.
It's $200, which is absolutely incredible for a console like that. It has longer battery life. We're not sure how much yet, but they're claiming it's about an hour to an hour and a half more.
No, that's it. I think what 4.5 to 6.
4.5 to 7.
4.5 to 7.
So also plus, and the other major factor was like it functions 100% like a normal Switch, but it just doesn't have docked mode, right? So like if you want to ever use this on your TV, then the extra $100 is going to be worth it to you.
Yeah. like I saw this and was immediately like, oh, this is kind of aimed at someone like if I was busy playing games on Metro and I'm going into work,
Right.
this would be kind of the better device.
Right. And also, like, again, how often are you going to play it on your TV?
Yeah.
Like how, you know, and I used both features pretty equally, I would say. And so for me, it's not the console for me. I still kind of want one because it is a cool alternative to have. But Nintendo's always been so bad about game sharing across your account and like being able to transfer games and play games where you want them. And so I like if you wanted to share, you can share accounts, or you can share your consoles can share the same account, but whatever your secondary account is, whatever not the main account is, has to have a constant internet connection to check that you still own the game.
Got it.
So like if I were to buy a Switch Lite, I would have to make the Switch Lite my main console, and then have the docked one.
Have the dock one be the secondary
one.
So it's almost this odd thing where if you get this one, it has to be your primary.
Right.
And you might not want it to be that way.
Right. And so, like, it just doesn't make sense for me to have one, or for anyone that already...
Because at that point, it would be like, well, then you should just have, like, a third Switch variant that's literally just the dock. And
right. And so, like, that's kind of the thing that is a plus for me. So... Obviously, I'm not going to get this because it just doesn't fit what I need.
Yeah.
And, like, again, I use both features enough where... And it's not enough of a size different and enough of an upgrade where, in terms of size or function or form, where I'm just going to still use my Switch portably. It's not, like, a big game changer to me. But what it does tell is that the rumors of the Switch Pro unit
are actually
valid.
Valid, yeah.
Because, you know... Obviously, if you're going to make a lesser one, you're going to make a bigger one too, or not a bigger one, but a more improved one. So, like maybe
there's space for like more powerful,
more powerful hardware. And
yeah.
so, like that's one that excites me because that's one that would maybe get me to get a new Switch, or like trade mine in for a new one, like stuff like that. Like would get me on board. But for you, like where would this force you to like consider getting a Switch now?
Well, here's the thing: is because I was thinking about that. Like, the one space where this would make the most sense for me is my commute.
Right.
But I usually, with my iPad, I'm usually reading on my commute or working on my commute.
Right.
And so it's like, specifically for me, it's almost like, do I really want to spend $200 on a device where the primary place I'd be using it is something where I already have a device that meets my needs for that.
Right.
So it'd be more of the fact that the price point makes the Switch a bit more compelling.
Sure.
And the other thing too, and this is again just a me specific thing, given my eyesight issues that are being addressed very slowly. Having a device that I could hold a little bit closer to my face where I'm not dependent. This is one of the reasons I stopped console gaming.
Right. Is
that I was having trouble seeing the screen.
You should get glasses, Logan.
Oh, we should have, at some point we should actually talk about what's wrong with my eyes. Because glasses won't help anymore. But this means I could hold the device closer, so that would be a boon. So like the docking wouldn't necessarily be as important to me.
Sure.
But the thing too is I don't see... If I was to spend $200 on hardware right now, I would probably put an upgrade into my computer before I'd buy a Switch. I think the person here would be a bigger question would be James, because I know we have a Wii U.
Yeah, James. You want to play Breath of the Wild again on the go?
Yeah. Would this be something you'd... Because would the inability to play it on the computer or on the TV make a difference to you? Would this make you play more? Would you play less? Or would you just be not interested?
I'd like to have that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the flexibility, right?
Exactly.
Right. I mean, like to me, what makes the Switch appealing is the flexibility of it, and so like removing that from the equation, I don't think that's like appealing to me.
The more I think about it, the more I feel like this isn't intended to be aimed at.
It's the same reason why they made the 2DS, right?
Yeah.
Like remember they made the. Do you remember the 2DS? It's the 3DS, but instead of a clamshell design, it's a slab.
Yeah, the one that's like all flat.
Yeah, that was made for children.
That's what I was like. The more I think about it, the more I think this is kind of aimed at parents who want to maybe buy a tablet or a game device for the kids, but they don't want to spend full price on it, but are willing to plunk down a couple $100.
Right. And like the thing is, to me, is like the extra $100. I know it's mainly the dock, right?
Yeah.
'Cause the dock is $90 retail on its own. Obviously, MSRP doesn't really mean that that's what it's worth, but I mean, like the $100, a lot of that is you're basically the dock, right? And so, to me, like if you're willing to plug down $200 already, the extra $100 for the ability to dock and have the flexibility is worth it.
Yeah, if the extra $100 is the thing that's going to make or break you getting the Switch, I don't think
the Switch is for you, right?
It's probably not for you, or B, if it is for you, just save up the extra $100.
Right. And so obviously, like, it's easy to say that, like, save $100, right? Like, it's easy to say that.
It's easy to say that. It's not easy to necessarily do
right. And then depending on your situation, like, I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying, like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, though, here was that Nintendo has had a history of holding on or being very vocal about, like, having their pillars of their company. And so, like, I remember when the DS came out, they were like, no, the Game Boy Advance is still a big pillar of our company. Right?
Yeah.
And so it was like, for a while, it was GameCube, Game Boy, or GameCube, DS, and Game Boy Advance. And then eventually they were like, fuck the Game Boy Advance, like, go away, right? And then for a long time, they were like, yes, the 3DS is out, but the DS is still a big part of our family, right? Okay, get rid of the DS now.
Yeah.
Right. Now, they're still saying, like, they came out with this, they made a really public statement about, like, how the 3DS is still a major pillar of their company.
Like, I see this too, and I'm like, why? At this point, it's almost like they're asking for the death of the Game Boy. Yeah.
In particular, even more so than the Switch, this thing kills any notion that the 3DS is a focal point of their company, because they literally made a portable
they made a portable only console, and it's like, why would you buy a portable gaming platform?
And remember, a 3DS is still $120.
Yeah, it's like,
right, like for an extra $70 you can just get a Switch.
I know, it's like it's a no-brainer type thing.
And the only obviously there's still great games on the Switch or on the 3DS, and it is an incredible library of games. Yeah. But I don't, like, is it a good investment at this point? No, probably not.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, because this is the longest they've stuck with, because they've said this Switch has been out for almost 2-3 years now. And so they're still saying that the 3DS is a pillar of the brand. It's like, I don't know. Is it?
Yeah. No, like, I saw this and I was surprised that it wasn't like, and the 3DS has been phased out.
Right.
Like, it's, yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
But, I don't know.
It's an interesting.
It's again, it's one of those things where it's like, if I was to have to buy a Switch today, like, if someone was like, Logan, you have to buy a Switch today, or, I don't know, horrible things will happen. Right. This would be the one I'd pick up, not just because it's cheapest, because for my use case, it makes sense. But it's like, if I was like thinking about it as like a longer term investment, it's like, it doesn't make as much sense unless it's going to be only if you're the only one who's going to play it and you're never going to play it on like your couch.
Right. Again, I have a lot of friends that only play portable mode, and so, like, yeah, this is perfect for them.
Yeah. And,
like, again, a case-by-case basis. I'm just saying, in general, it just doesn't seem like this has a lot of valid, like...
Its use case is very limited.
Right. I don't think this has a lot of, like, positive things versus a regular Switch. Maybe the size thing, but otherwise I have no idea why you would.
Yeah, it's interesting, I guess.
Right.
And we'll leave it at that. Let's move on, James. Let's go to TV. All right. So, Stranger Things 3 came out.
I have not checked it out yet.
You haven't checked
I've heard good things though.
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
It's, I guess let's go, because you haven't watched it yet, let's discuss like one business side of the thing.
Sure.
Because we've talked about this briefly, the idea of whether or not, so, like, I think we first talked about it in, like, with The Mandalorian, over whether or not The Mandalorian should be released weekly or all at once. And what I found interesting is Nielsen had viewer numbers or Nielsen's viewer numbers, which may or not
Sure.
may not be accurate. Netflix, of course, probably has incredibly accurate numbers.
Sure.
That said, that Stranger Things, where Game of Thrones was seeing around 15 million viewers an episode, Stranger Things, they estimate it's currently seeing around 12 million viewers an episode,
Okay.
which is really good. But I was thinking about it. It's like, why is it? And I think this is more to my whole thing of where you should be putting them out weekly instead of all at once. Is it feels like no one's like everyone's talked about it
And moved on.
and then already moved on.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of weird to think about how because I didn't finish it until yesterday,
Right.
and I feel like I've missed the entire conversation.
Sure. I mean, I would think Stranger Things in particular, like for this particular conversation, I don't think Stranger Things would benefit from like spreading it out. Like for me, it's not a show that I would want to continue talking about, right? Like there's not enough twists or surprises from like the first two seasons where I'd be like, oh my God, did you watch Stranger Things last night? Like,
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that kind of show to me. And I don't know if it could hold my interest. Like, 'cause there are a couple slow episodes in there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it could hold my interest throughout an entire season before, like, I'm just, like, kind of bored or not. I'm not in a rush and, like, giddy and ready to watch it every week. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's that kind of, like, event watching show.
How-
Now, for, like, The Mandalorian, it could be. But, I mean,
How much of that though is the fact that it's never been released in that format, so we've never seen it be reacted to in the way that you would Game of Thrones, where every episode gets discussed to death.
sure. I mean, but again, for Game of Thrones, or for, like, Game of Thrones, it could be the way they're filmed too, because like Game of Thrones is filmed to be like week to week, and so
Yeah.
it ends in a lot of ways on like cliffhangers or questions or things.
Whereas
that you wanna
Stranger
see.
Things,
Stranger Things
it's-
really kind of just like
It's an 8-hour long movie.
right, where you know the cuts are kind of like natural cuts,
Yeah.
and so yeah, like it makes it again. It's made to binge, right? So it's made to just sort of like yeah, okay, cool, flow into this next one. Great, fantastic. And then there's very clear points of like, okay, you can take a break now if you'd like, right? And so that doesn't, I don't think that bodes well for week to week. But again, it could be different if it was made to be viewed week to week. They could possibly recut it and do
Possibly
other
recut
things,
it and do it.
But yeah, I think like to me a show like that is perfect for binging because it's just like I want to keep
Because you want to keep
I
going.
want to
Yeah.
keep going, and it wants me to keep going.
I feel that way about like every show I watch. That if I'm into it, even if I'm only seeing it week to week, like yeah, part of the anticipation is I want to know what's going on next, and so I have to like wait a week so the anticipation builds. But that hasn't changed for shows that are designed for this week to week that I have binged. It's
I would say like a show like Agents of Shield, especially in like I'd say like season like 2-ish and seasons like Ghost Rider season, so like season 4 and like stuff like that where they did a really great job of like, man, that was a great episode. I can't wait for next week. And like, but I'm not like jonesing for it, right? Like it's not something that I need to discuss with anyone, and it's not something where it's like I need to discuss it and I need to like break it down and analyze everything. It's just like that was fantastic. I need to talk to someone about how fantastic it was and then move on. Right?
That's fair. But I guess my whole thing is it's just I feel like whenever there is like a really good episode of say Stranger Things or
Right.
something like that, we never discuss that episode alone as
Sure.
its own piece.
Right.
Because everyone is discussing the entirety of the season, or we'll avoid spoilers even though we have the spoiler warning on. We created a spoiler little tag.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That's fancy. I like it.
There's like an obvious cliffhanger at the end of this season.
Okay.
And everyone's talking about that, but that means no one is discussing like episode 3.
Sure.
Even though I don't remember which episode 3 is specifically, but it means that yes, we are discussing like some high marks. Like I think this isn't really a spoiler, but Steve is awesome.
Sure.
But we don't discuss, like I like discussing some of the granular stuff sometimes. Maybe that's a lot of my background because I studied this type of
Right.
stuff, but it feels weird to me that we can't sit there and be like, let's discuss this one episode, or you
like
can,
this small detail.
these small details. You can go and have a discussion, but it's almost like no one is really going out of their way to seek it because they're all discussing the overarching plot or
Right.
like the cliffhanger at the end of the season.
Sure. No,
So,
I totally see
yeah.
that. Yeah, I think it just depends on the show, right? Like to me, Stranger Things. The thing that I like to discuss about Stranger Things is sort of the small nuances and the touches. And I feel like when I talk to people like you or someone like my sphere of people are kind of interested in that as well. And
Yeah.
so I don't have to like go out and seek that. And so like it's not something that I feel like there's abilities to get out of it what you want to get out of it, whether or not it's a binge format or not. But I think again, it's something that I'm curious to see where they keep going with it. Because like if Disney Plus starts going week to week with their stuff, does that force Netflix to?
Yeah, does that force Netflix to change? Because
Right.
HBO is still sticking to the week-to-week format.
Right.
Amazon, I think, is sticking to the week-to-week
Right.
format.
Disney Plus, we don't know yet.
Disney Plus, we don't know yet. But Disney
Disney Plus is going to shift the market because they have the most valuable shows coming up.
yeah, it's
So
if Disney Plus goes week to week.
I know
then-
Lord of the Rings is coming out, but like that's not the same. That's not going to be the same as the Star Wars stuff and the Marvel stuff. There's no way.
Though they finally decided they're shooting in New Zealand.
Yeah.
That's like what
Also,
only thing we know.
Well, completely forgot. And completely side note. I know you heard about the Lord of the Rings MMO thing, right?
Oh yeah, I almost saw that as a topic point.
Excited? Not excited? Quick.
Okay.
Just one.
All right. I do have. This is the reason why I almost made a topic point. Sorry, we're no longer discussing Stranger Things, and we're completely off topic. My issue with the MMO is the fact that it's already kind of weird in the sense that every license for Lord of the Rings has been kind of centralized around Warner Brothers or Amazon
Yeah.
now, with the exception of the MMO, because Turbine still has the rights to the Lord of the Rings universe. So Lord of the Rings Online is going to continue to be a thing. At the same time, this Amazon-backed MMO, which we've known about already, it will also be a thing. So now the big question is, are we going to go for the one that's prettier? But here's the other question. This other one is going to be prettier and more up-to-date. Also, why are we doing MMO? I thought those were dead outside of WoW. But one of the reasons why Lord of the Rings Online is still alive and kicking is that, to go into like the Tolkien geek perspective, they went really deep into the lore, and the only times they have violated the lore of the Lord of the Rings or the Middle-earth mythos has been them going, well, according to the books and all that stuff, this shit shouldn't happen, but it'd be a very boring game. So we have to do something here, so there's something to do to keep the gameplay going. So they've played around with some bits, and they've violated lore, but every time they've done it, you sit there and you're like, I understand why.
Sure.
My concern is entirely not from the, is the game going to be fun standpoint. It's going to be like, are they going to show that same dedication that Turbine did? And also, why didn't Amazon just buy out Turbine and be like, here's the money you need to actually make an engine that isn't garbage? Because the Lord of the Rings Online engine is garbage.
Right.
But yeah, that's my whole thing on it. Is it's just more of a...
I knew you'd have thoughts. I had sort of the same thing of like, I'm curious how Amazon functions, and like I'm curious how the
it's
game
not even
going to
be linked to, it's not going to be linked to their series. It's its own standalone thing. It's been in development for over a year. We knew that there was a major publisher backer on this game, but we just didn't know who it was. There's still the concerns as much as the license holder, because it's still the Salzans Corporation, who also has the film rights to Lord of the Rings, and only Lord of the Rings, not the whole universe, has said, oh yeah, we like Lord of the Rings Online, we're still going to continue to license. It's like, well, is this gonna bump the license rights? Is this gonna like kill Lord of the Rings Online? Because
we'll see if the checks roll in first.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
it's very weird, and that's one of the reasons why I think the fanboys is kind of like doesn't know what to do. Because as much as everyone's like, ooh, shiny new thing, there's a reason why there's still, as much as there's irritation over the game, Lord of the Rings Online, there's still a reason there's respect in the fan base towards Turbine.
Right.
Well, it's not Turbine anymore. It's Standing Stone Games. Sorry, Standing Stone Games. No one knows who you are. Turbine, it's weird. There's history. Things changed. Companies got bought out. Whatever.
It happens.
It happens. So yeah, I did have thoughts. And
you
those
go.
are them. But yeah. It's I hope Disney goes with a week-to-week thing. I think I want everyone to be I guess what it comes down to me is I don't want everyone to be like all in on one way. There are some Netflix shows where I think yes, you don't have to do Queer Eye week to week.
Sure.
You really don't have to do that.
I mean, I'm curious.
But-
I'm curious if they start doing like if Disney does the thing where it's like, hey, all these Marvel shows are bingeable and out now. And
Yeah.
then Mandalorian is like
Week
a
to
flagship.
week.
It's like week to week. It's like, okay.
Like Clone Wars functions in arcs.
Yeah.
To where there'll be like 3 episodes to an arc. Put out the arc all at once so we can discuss the arcs.
Yeah.
But then wait like a week or 2 and then put out the next arc. You don't have to do everything all at once. Like, play, people. Play with your releases. That's all I'm asking. Don't go all in on one way or the other.
There you go.
And because honestly, that's one of the beauties of the internet is you don't have to do it the old way or the way the other guy does it. You can do it your own goddamn way.
Very true.
So
Words to live by.
yeah. So please, week to week for Mandalorian, but Clone Wars, give me my Clone Wars in easily digestible chunks of storyline plots. But I think we're kind of done with Stranger Things, even though we went on a completely non-Stranger Things tangent.
Continue.
James, right after Game of Thrones ended,
Okay.
James started rewatching Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Did you start like immediately after Game of Thrones ended, James, or did you wait a couple weeks?
It was I would say at least 6 weeks after the finale.
And I know you haven't finished.
So
but
where are you?
Where are you in season 8?
Right before the Battle for Winterfell, or it's
Okay,
like
so you're
Okay.
the episode before Long Night.
I'm
Okay.
like 3 away from the
Are
end.
you in the fireplace episode?
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
watched
Okay.
that one.
Cool. So I have so many questions. What?
Yeah, go for it, because I've been asking him questions for like 2 weeks.
What has anything? What spurred? Well, first off, what spurred you to do this? Was it just like I have nothing to do? Let me go check this out.
I mean, I sort of enjoy rewatching series. I feel like The Office I'll rewatch every 4 years. You know, I
Sure.
sort of get on these cycles where I'm like, oh, I don't really remember, or I watch
Right.
an episode.
I did it with Scrubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scrubs is a good one to go on a rewatch.
And you sort of are like, oh, you watch one episode, you're like, oh, I think I'll and then you once you start, you're just you're in that
Yeah, you're down the
loop
road.
again.
Yeah.
I make that mistake every time. I'm in the random mood for Star Trek, and I throw up Deep Space Nine, and then that's what I'm watching for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I feel you.
So yeah, I just sort of, and I was curious because the show has such this mythology to it that I'm pretty bad at remembering. So when I watched season 8, I was like, I don't remember who any of these people, some of these people who kind of some of the Castle Black guys who we hadn't seen for a season or 2.
Yeah, I
it was
remember,
years between. So I'm like, I know who that is, but when they die or whatever, I'm just sort of I don't care.
Yeah, because I remember when we were watching the finale, I had to remind you who Edmure Tully was.
Yeah.
And also I'm super bad at names, especially when people age. It's the little boy who's the lord of the castle that's on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's make the man fly. Seeing him as an adult, I'm like, who is that? Oh, it's that kid. The stuff like that. So anyway, it's sort of fun to rewatch for those reasons. And I sort of wanted to see, everyone complaining about the direction that the show took at the very end, it being kind of unmotivated, blah, 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 that sort of stuff.
Before we dive into Danny, because I know that was one of the big reasons why you did this rewatch. Just looking at, because our criticism was the pacing
Right.
of the last 2 seasons.
Does the pacing really drop off as hard as everyone thought it did?
Or does it still fit? When you're going from season 1 all the way through, because you're now in season 8, did that pacing shift?
Did 7 just blow by of just what the fuck happened?
I honestly did not mind the pacing. I feel the story, it's just also
the story was picking up too.
Right.
Like
the story
you were
picks up,
approaching Endgame.
and like you sort of, I feel like what people liked about early seasons was that people could kind of be like you could kind of cycle through characters and be like, oh, that person just dies, and you're like, what? And then some new people show up, but like eventually you sort of have to like settle in and kind of be like, okay, here are the main characters. To have the story actually work and be a story, we have to give them a little bit of plot armor in certain places.
Sure.
Or a lot of plot armor in others.
Exactly. I'm not like a complainy person. I feel like the show is the show, and like people who complain about the show not going exactly the way they want it to, it just seems unnecessary because like that's every show, and like what if the books went in a different direction? Would you complain about that because it's like
Sure.
the original material? I don't know, but like, so I don't. Could it have been better? Absolutely. It would have been nice. I feel like if the episode count had been kind of consistent throughout every season, it would have felt more like the same kind of thing where like the show kind of plods along. But again, like all those kind of like character development things that happen in like seasons 2 and 3 where people are just like sitting around a fire talking, like that's us getting to know them. I don't know how much more there is that we can learn about them. So at a certain point, we have to have them start doing things, making decisions. So again, it's like a movie. Like Act 1 is going to kind of be like leading up to the thing. Act 2 is
kind
like
of plods along, and then Act 3 is just like everything kicks in.
So yeah, I feel like Game
Yeah.
of Thrones was like 90% Act 1, and then all of a sudden, kind of the show has to do
Act 3.
Like, oh, we have a show to do now.
exactly. I mean,
Like, we have a story to tell.
I was watching just yesterday someone kind of doing a review that, again, I'm not 100% agreeing with them, but them kind of saying like the show kind of, instead of like in early seasons, it's about the culture of Westeros and like people trying to bend culture to what they want it to be. Whereas like later seasons, it's just kind of about those characters. So it's like it goes from like kind of like external motivations to like internal motivations,
Right.
Which is like perhaps why people are like, oh, the show's different. But long story short, watching through the show again, knowing what happens in the end, it's like, okay, there are breadcrumbs that are laid out
Yeah,
in
right.
like
That was
episode 1. You're like, okay, like I was
Crazy.
surprised by the ending, but now that like you see it coming, you're like, oh yeah, Dany's kind of like always been arrogant and like kind of getting her way however she wants to.
and vindictive.
Exactly.
In the way she
It's
gets
just
it,
like-
yeah.
It's really badass at the beginning because she's kind of competing against, especially in Game of Thrones, like more like sneering, mustache twirling, like slave owners and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas like
Like she's been fighting like obviously
Like the bad
the bad
guys.
guys.
exactly, they're like who she fights are clearly bad guys. Whereas like once she starts interacting with other characters in the show who are much more complicated and kind of like Jaime Lannister is like kind of bad at points and good at points, and you're sort of like, oh, and like Theon, like they kind of go through these phases where you like them or like at least you understand their motivation. Where so like when she starts dealing with those people who we've kind of gotten to know before, like I feel like Dany doesn't really even start interacting with our other Westeros characters until season 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like she works well in like a bubble when she's just like taking down slave owners and stuff. But like you see her when she's in Marine, I'm gonna say, like she's kind of not great at being a queen. She's kind of like she's a conqueror. She's not a ruler. So it's like
Yeah.
all this stuff is, again, it's all being set up. Not to say like some of my favorite moments of the show are when she's like just being badass and
Right,
like
yeah.
you love that. So I think that's why it kind of like hurts a little bit when you're like, oh,
It's because she's this badass against people where you're
Who
just
are
like,
bad,
they're
right?
like,
And, like,
Exactly.
oh, she's attacking slave owners. I don't feel bad. But the moment it's like, yeah, Cersei's kind of evil, but holy crap, woman type thing. It's
Right. I think it goes. James is like right on because I went back right afterwards and I watched. There's a compilation of like all of Dany's scenes, and so I just like watched that for like an hour, and it was just a thing of like after watching that you see all the stuff of like, dude, she's kind of fucked up to like a lot of
Yeah.
people, and like she goes the extra mile to like make a point, right? And to make a point, like make a stand, like be vindictive and be kind of like extra.
yeah, it's like
And
when
so like, yeah, when she burns the whole town, like that's kind of her MO of like being extra and like going the extra mile.
But like, if it was a different town, you'd be like, "Rock on, girl
yeah,
power!"
right? Like,
you know,
it's
but
because we know this city, right? We know
Yeah.
like there's good people in this town. Like,
yeah, because it's like. So I was watching with you a bit, James, where I think it was the season 6 finale where they're the Battle Marine and they kill the 2 of the people leading the opposing army.
right.
And it's after Tyrion had tried to deal with them and tried to come to terms and offered a decent deal and was trying to settle things over, and they attacked anyway. And so you can kind of sit there and be like, okay, I get why they're being harsh here, but you then turn around and when it's like after the fight with the Lannisters and she does that to the Tarleys,
Yeah.
you're kind of like, wait, they just fought a battle. This is the first time you've ever interacted with them, and you immediately go to that same position
Right.
of, no, you either bend the knee or you die.
She's
And
just
you're
very quick to violence.
She's
right?
very quick to that.
and it feels like she only cares about people bending. Like that's like
Yeah.
her thing is like bend the knee. Like I don't care about anything else as long as your knees are bent.
There's no levels. It's an on-off switch with Dany.
Right.
And
So no, I completely agree.
And so I was actually thinking about this more because you had made this comment. Well, I think you were in season 3 even, James, where you made the comment of where you're like, no, this is all here.
Yeah. And like, you know, her relationship with I'm spacing on her name, like her friend who like does her hair.
Miss Sandy.
Miss Sunday, yeah. It's like that relationship. I'm like, oh, again, having not seen the show, like going into season 8, having not watched the show for I believe 18 months or like what was the
Yeah.
gap? It's like you forget about those like again the little Game of Thrones moments that you forget because they aren't the plot, but it's like it kind of helps the characters.
Yeah.
You kind of forget like, oh, Dany kind of has no friends except her in like the entire show.
Yeah.
Like that's the
Yeah.
only person who she's kind of a friend with.
She has one friend, a bunch of lovers that she doesn't
really love.
really love, with
Yeah.
probably the exception of Jon. But she's not really close with very many. She
And-
either
yeah, I mean,
keeps
and, like-
she either keeps them at a distance or they get killed.
And she kind of like I want to say it's the first episode. She kind of has this weird like 1,000-yard stare presence about her when she's just sort of being like traded around. Like it sort of is like, oh, this has been her life since day one. Is like
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
brother's kind of being like
She's
like a
currency,
tool,
right?
and like I mean she's just like she's very vulnerable, and so I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's like I was thinking about it. I think the biggest mistake they made with the idea of burninating King's Landing, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it's because we see her. I wonder if it would play better if we didn't have that reaction shot where she's just staring at the keep and then goes on the attack. If we hear the bells ringing and everyone kind of looks towards Dany and the dragon, but you don't actually get that close up, you just all of a sudden see the dragon go, if it would play better.
I mean, I
I
feel
don't know,
like
I kind of like. I think it gives her more validity if you show the keep, like, and you show the close up, because then you understand like her intention of like this is like you understand the rage, right? You understand like the. She's not just crazy, right? Like, because if you just show the dragon and Dany and you don't show the close up, then she's just like a crazy woman burning the town, right? If you show the close up, then you see the rage and you understand like her emotional state, and you understand like, oh, she's like not even thinking right now. She's just going.
Yeah.
She's gone. right? And so then it's just her wiping the entire city on her way to kind of like get revenge, right?
And like one of my favorite things about that episode is that that's the last time you see her in the whole episode. Like it's sort of like that close up, and then it's never her perspective again. It's only city perspective.
Yeah.
Until like the whole
like,
next
the ruin.
episode, and she's like, then she's just like, basically like Kim Jong-un with her like uniform, then she's just like 100% dictator mode.
Yeah.
Which,
I'm gonna conquer the world.
and that one's a little weird. Again, it's like I feel like it would have been nice to have the seasons paced at the same rate, because I just you want more episodes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I remember I was, again, for some reason yesterday, like a George R.R. Martin interview where he was like, I don't know why they're stopping it at season 8. Like, it could just keep going. And that's what seems strange, is that the show could have benefited from a slower pacing, and I don't know who didn't want that except the showrunners.
I honestly think it was all showrunners.
But I feel like HBO is like
HBO wanted
let's
to go
turn
to,
off this money printing machine.
HBO
Okay.
basically wanted to go to a 10th season. I think they wanted 10 seasons.
And like I think that would have been nice. I think the show still would have like ended up in the same place and maybe have had the same complaints, but I don't know.
I think the problem is that like a lot of like you don't get enough time. Like I think James kind of hit perfectly on the nose, where it's like, yes, you see her doing all this stuff to bad people, and you get a lot of time with her against bad people, right? You get a lot of time of her just fucking up bad people. Then when she gets to the Westeros characters, she has such little time with them that you don't get to see her be that. Like you don't get to see her do that to enough Westeros people to understand, like, oh, it's not her turning, it's that these people now that she's doing it to are different, right? It just kind of happens, and it happens very quickly. And so, like, I feel like if you had an equal amount of time of her dealing with Westeros people as she did with, like, the super bad people, then it wouldn't be as much of a turn.
It wouldn't feel as drastic, as everyone would be like, why is she doing this? Why is she acting the same way to our favorite people that she did to these slavers?
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think that's the same. I think that's the issue that you're running into. Like, she just didn't have enough time to interact with these people for you to, like,
realize that she never changed.
Like, she never changed, right? That's how she is.
And there was one moment though that kind of stood out to me as like a strategic mistake, is when they're like everyone's kind of meeting up in King's Landing and they're gonna like show off the zombie that they went and grabbed from the north. It just seems like all you really need to do is like kill Cersei. That's kind of the only thing you have to do to just kind of, because I mean like. I just, or like, even like, she flies in with her dragon, everyone who's everyone is like, right there, just go like, flame blower, and then you're done. Like, then you have everything that you wanted.
It's like, oh, okay, we're done, now let's save the planet.
I mean, maybe I'm mistaken, but that was one thing where I was just like, it seems like, just like, you're being too like formal. I guess like, old-fashioned war was like more formal. But
at that point, their concern is the army of the dead, right? So like she doesn't know that her army alone can take the army of the dead, right?
I guess that's true.
She still needs their army. Like theoretically, right? Like theoretically, she still needs their army. So if she kills Cersei right here, there's no fucking way that Lannister army is coming north.
Because as much
right?
as Jaime wanted to take that army north, I think if she killed Cersei, I have a feeling Jaime probably wouldn't take the army north. Just out of spite.
Right. Like, fuck you guys. We're all going to die now. Thank you.
I actually, my whole thing with the to speak of tactics, I was surprised that she didn't send the Lannister army north and just stop at Moat Cailin. Which is that one point where, like, you can't really cross without taking this castle. It's just like, just siege it there. That way they have to siege it from the north. Yeah, maybe the north would have an easier time of it, but just, like, there, it's like, haha, now I got you trapped.
Right.
But then, I don't know, that's me. But also, there's some implication that there's, like, no Lannister army anymore. because they all got burninated. But yeah, no, I think it's been interesting because I haven't been rewatching with James, but just to catch him and like discuss it, it's been interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, I really like that.
So let's move on to movies. So our one little blip before we jump into Spider-Man.
Okay.
What'd you think of the Mulan trailer?
I loved it. I know a lot of people were mad about the Mushu stuff and the music stuff, which gotta say, a little disappointed about. Just because I love Mulan and like music and Eddie Murphy are some of the probably the best parts of that entire movie. But yeah, I mean, it looks great. I'm very happy with like their casting choices, and so I like the idea that like they're going really traditional with it in terms of like the reason they gave for like no Mushu and no music was like they really wanted to stay true to like the cultural stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's great.
I wonder how much.
Obviously, my eyes love that.
Like, I don't disagree with that decision, but I wonder how much of it too is them thinking about the Chinese market.
Right. And obviously, like the music's Chinese people like music, whatever. But I mean, like I liked it. I'm very excited. My question more so is like, what are these live action movies now? Like, I'm so confused.
I guess it kind of goes to my whole thing is I think the biggest problem, and this is something I've seen other people share online, my problem with Disney live action treatments hasn't been that they're doing them. It's that it's almost like Disney's like, wait, Maleficent made a ton of money. So did Alice in Wonderland. Let's just load up everything and just go. They're trying to get them all out as fast as they can.
Well, to me, the litmus test for them was Cinderella.
Yeah, Cinderella was definitely... I think Cinderella was the one where, like, they had success with Alice, they had success with Maleficent, and they were like,
let's do a more traditional
let's just do a traditional one and see what happens, and Cinderella was a success.
And honestly, the easiest one to pull off, because there's no music, and it's a very traditional story that everyone knows. And B, very well done. Very well
Brenna.
done. Yeah. That was Brenna.
Kenneth Branagh. You're like, okay, you're like, that was why I went to see it.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
it's very well done. We were working at our class.
Yeah.
It's very well done. I actually really enjoyed that live action Cinderella movie.
No, I did too.
And so, but Dumbo was a flop. Dumbo was terrible, by the way. I saw that.
I didn't want to see it, and I never did.
Yeah, it's real bad. Aladdin's okay. Beauty and the Beast was okay. Jungle Book I thought was actually really good.
I enjoyed Jungle Book, but it's also like...
It's Favreau, right?
Yeah, it was Favreau. I guess what it comes down to for me was it was like if Disney had, instead of trying to like get them all out like rapid fire, it was instead like, I think one of the reasons they initially found success is they released them in March, which is
the slow time,
which is a slow period that's kind of become early summer, so there's not so much competition.
Right.
And then if they had stuck with March and they just did one a year, all of a sudden, like your Pete's Dragon, where no one saw it, would probably have been a bit more successful because it was the March release.
Right. I think I think their mindset is like, hey, we're gonna put our crappier ones up in March, so like Dumbo or like I forget what else they threw in there, but like stuff like that. And then our big hitters, like the big names, like Aladdin, we're gonna put in the summer, like Mulan, like stuff like that, right? Where it's like, I don't know. I'm just confused as like the direction of these because some of them are like direct one-to-one remakes of the animated films, and then other ones are like reimaginings or like this Mulan one's almost completely different than the
it's
animated
own
film,
beast.
right? Where it looks like Lion King is a one-to-one to the animated film, pretty much.
Actually, I've heard that it's not.
Really? Because from the trailers, it looks almost exactly
like it's a one-to-one, and then
with the music and everything.
Yeah, apparently they made some... I haven't seen it yet, but apparently they made some changes, and it's just like... I guess my whole question with it's less, again, it's not that they're doing it, it's more like, what is your strategy besides like is there a strategy? Like, that's the problem, is it doesn't feel like there's been like a thought process put into it.
The problem is they print money, so it's not like they need to worry about it because they're going to make money anyway.
That's true, and so they're just not realizing, it just is like, okay.
They're just like, hey, we're going to get talented people to make these movies and then release them whenever. And if they do well, great, whatever.
Great. If we're Disney, it's not like we have a Marvel movie coming out in a week.
Yeah.
Star Wars is ending the year. We're good.
They could literally release one Marvel movie and one Star Wars movie a year and be good for the rest of their careers.
Yeah, they would. They really would. Like, basically, they're the Hollywood equivalent of a mint.
That's all they need at this point. It's crazy. Everything else is icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Dude, remember they have Frozen coming out later this year too.
They have Frozen coming out later this year. It's one of the reasons why everyone's
They
like...
had Toy Story? They had Toy Story this year?
It's like my whole thing when like everyone dunked on Solo and its box office performance. It's like, yeah, I don't think Disney was crying.
They don't care.
Like...
Lucasfilm cares.
Lucasfilm cares.
Disney don't care.
I think Disney was probably like, oh, we should have made more money, but
Whatever.
we're still rolling around in Force Awakens money before we're going to worry about it. Besides, like, oh, we ate like $100 million on the film that we made because that was the only reason we were able to keep one of our screenwriters on.
Guys, don't
Whatever.
worry. We got the Mother of Dragons in one of our movies. We can now make Kira dolls for Galaxy's Edge. Okay?
We're good.
We're good. That's all we needed.
Yeah, it's... whatever.
Also, they do have Kira dolls at Galaxy's Edge, which
Oh, I'm
I was
sure.
saying, like, if it wasn't Amelia Clark, would that character have resonated with anyone, and would they be making merch for her? No.
I have a feeling that she was going to be a major character in like in a spinoff, because one of the rumors was Solo was supposed to be launching like the Star Wars Underworld universe type thing.
That'd be cool.
And so I have a
I
feeling
actually really like that element of that movie.
Yeah, and so the theory was that Amelia we might not see Han Solo, but we would probably see like Amelia Clark with Maul.
Yeah.
And have there be a Maul focused movie.
That'd be cool. I'd still be down for that.
Oh,
Because I thought she was great in that movie.
I have a feeling that might become one of their Disney Plus things. Is try to do.
Hey, Amelia Clark, we know you just spent 10 years doing a long TV show that was super grueling.
Let's do another one.
Time-consuming. But let's do another one for Disney Plus.
I think that might be their switch. Is that all their plans for like the Underworld might get switched over to Disney Plus?
I'd be down.
I'd be down for that. But let's dive into Marvel some more. Let's talk Spider-Man: Far From Home. What did you think?
I loved it.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, like, there's some things I had problems with, but like for the most part, I loved it. I love how John Watts does an amazing job of nailing like the awkward high school conversations. It's to a T. Like it's to the point where it makes me cringe because I'm like, why was that?
Oof.
Like, ooh, I did that.
I still do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
What do you think though?
I enjoyed it. I guess it comes down to like my whole thing about trying to like we've talked about this, like the difference between Star Wars and Marvel, like why I place them on two different tiers.
Right.
And it's more of that. Just the whole thing of, yes, I enjoy Marvel movies,
Right.
but I guess I'm getting tired of the formula on some level.
Right.
Or, or where I want them to do more than just the formula.
Right. I mean, to me, I'm starting to view them less as films and more like monthly comic releases.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, cool, more story. Great.
Yeah, it's like, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
But it's, I go in knowing what I'm going to get, and I get exactly that and nothing more. And admittedly, that's better than a lot of directors out there where I feel like I walk in and they're competent. Right. Everything is executed fine, but you're not walking out going, oh man, the direction in that movie is amazing.
Right.
That's how I'm kind of hitting with Marvel.
That's kind of thing where it's funny where I think we've gotten spoiled, right? Where it's like, right when we got home from seeing Spider-Man, Shazam had just come out on digital and Blu-ray, and so my dad had never seen Shazam, so I was like, "Oh, we'll watch Shazam." So we watched Shazam. Like halfway through, my dad goes, "What is this shit?" And I was like, it's kind of funny to see how, because like when you put Spider-Man and Shazam side by, like Shazam's not a terrible film, but like when you put it side by side with Spider-Man, you're like, "Wow, this is pretty garbage."
Right.
And you're like.
And that's the crazy thing. As much as I'm criticizing it, it's like Marvel is still on a completely different tier than anything DC's put out.
Right. And
recently.
it's like, and it's amazing that Marvel has such a blueprint, right? Like they have, like everyone talks about like the MCU blueprint of like, oh, these movies are kind of cookie cutter or whatever. Like they have this plan and they have this feel to their films, and there's literally a map, a 20 film map that you can look at and go like, this is how you make a superhero movie. And like then you look at DC and they're just like flopping around, going like, I don't know, stick this at the wall, like, see what, and you're like, where, how? With this much money and this much like competition that you can look at and say like, here,
why is it that you can't just like accomplish anything?
Right, like at least a decent one,
right?
Because your characters aren't bad. It's not, and it has nothing to do with story.
As evidenced by the the amazingness that is the DC animated universe.
Right, like it is the DC and you have an animated. You have writers obviously that can write an amazing story. In your animated side, you have Marvel to look at like look at what they're doing and literally just merge the two. It's not hard. Or wait, I'm simplifying it, but I mean to the point where
their brain they need to steal the animation brain trust and make them the film.
But
brain,
like you should be
trust.
able to at least come up with something competent, right? Where it's like this isn't rocket science, dude. Like these characters are good. Let them be good. And it's like dude. Just it's amazing, right?
Never saw it. Probably won't see it.
It's there's like a good 2/3 of that movie where you're just like, what the fuck is happening? It's real bad.
No, criticism of the blueprint aside.
Right.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I think I was scared of Magneto or Mysterio being
oh god, no. I feel like I really like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh yeah, but I was scared because Mysterio's powers are weird.
Yeah.
And so I was like, because remember, in the comics, he's a stunt guy. He's a stunt specialist and an actor that realizes he's not going to make money in Hollywood, and so he uses his knowledge of stunts and smoke and special effects to become a supervillain and like uses pyrotechnics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? Spoilers. He uses drones in this film.
Oh, we have the spoiler tag.
Okay, cool. So he uses drones in this film.
Yeah.
And like Stark tech. And I love the scene when the turn happens in the bar.
Oh yeah.
Where he goes
because I was sitting there in the bar and I'm like, Peter, why aren't you wearing your mask?
Right. And so like when they do the whole thing in the bar where they have the turn and it's like, thanks to this person and like they're introducing his team of people. Like it's not just Mysterio, right? Like he has a team of people. Also when they're doing the rehearsal of it and like he's like going through the beats of like here's what we're doing and blah blah and it's rehearsed and you can tell like, oh, okay, this is how they're doing it. This is super cool and I like this. I love my favorite scene of the whole film is him doing the messing with Peter's head in the building.
Yeah.
And they do all the crazy special effects stuff. Oh my god, that was so beautiful.
It was so crazy to watch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I loved a lot of the character moments between him and MJ.
Yeah,
like especially when it's like they flip the script on the person changing clothes bit.
Yeah,
where she's like, I'm gonna change, and she's just like. And then Ned walks in.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I was totally not trying to peek a look at.
It's awesome. And like that stuff, I love the Happy Hogan is still like as throwaway of a character as that seemingly was in the first Iron Man.
He's not a throwaway anymore.
He's become a gem, right? And so it's stuff like I teared up quite a bit when they do the Iron Man tribute at the end of the film where he's making the suit and they play the music and like he has him doing the whole thing. And,
I love Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, and like where Happy looks back and kind of has like the
because he does like they basically like did like I'm sure someone has done or is going to do on YouTube a shot to shot comparison.
Oh yeah,
but I wonder if it is literally them trying to match the framing. And
yeah, I mean, but like watching Happy turn around, like it gave me the same feeling of at the end of Endgame where he's sitting with Morgan and he tells her, "I'll buy you
I'll buy you all the cheeseburgers,
all the cheeseburgers you want." Like it gave me that same feel when he looks back and he sees Peter doing
he's like, "Yeah, I got
stuff.
my guy."
Yeah, And so, like, that stuff's great. I love he throws it's the throwaway line, too. He throws away the shield.
It's like, I don't know how Cap does that.
How does Cap do that? And just, like, runs away. It's great.
Oh, God, yeah, gotta love Happy. And the whole thing where I'm in love with Spider-Man's aunt. And the Peter Tingles.
Peter Tingles. I thought that was a little corny. I thought that joke didn't hit.
It didn't hit, but as it kept, I think it worked with Happy, and it didn't really work with May.
Yeah. Dude,
like, it did when they first set it up, it didn't hit, but when Happy did it, the Peter Tingles?
Yeah.
And it's just like, It's like, okay.
It makes you cringe just enough where you think it's funny.
Yeah, it's like, that one hit.
Okay, no, I take it back. My favorite line of the entire film is Martin Starr on the plane sitting next to Peter, and he goes, "Did I tell you my wife faked getting blipped? She actually ran away with her trainer."
Oh my God, I love that it's the blip. It's just so like...
Oh, dude, the beginning of it with the
montage,
the shitty images,
is
and
like whoever is editing that was having a blast.
Especially
with the Getty logo, yeah. Oh God,
dude, the image of the Vision is so low res.
I know, it's perfect.
You can see the pixels.
It's like it needs more JPEG.
It's so good.
That montage was so good.
Because I think you have too. I've made one of those as a kid. Like, and everyone has made one of those as a kid.
Yeah,
it's so great.
And I've made ones that were probably just as bad. But you know whoever made that was having a blast because it was like on point in how bad it was.
Oh yeah, dude, using the Celine Dion.
Oh God, the Whitney Houston. I will always love you for all the dead adventures.
It's so good, man. It's so good.
But I love, one of my favorite things was the post credits reveal.
Oh, with J. Jonah Jameson.
Well, no, just I love the J. Jonah Jameson. First off, making Daily Bugle InfoWars.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, they took it from Spider-Man PS4.
Yeah. Oh, is that in PS4?
Yeah.
I knew that they some of the Spider-Man. I didn't realize it was. I thought they also did something similar with Into the Spider-Verse, or Daily Bugle was...
No, Daily Bugle is still a newspaper. Right? So,
but I like the fact that they basically were like, nope, this is the crazy conspiracy side of it.
In Spider-Man PS4, he's a podcast and rogue blogger. So,
they're literally throwing shade at InfoWars.
Yeah. So that's exactly how they play it in the PS4 version. Also... note, and this is kind of the nod too, because everyone was like, "Oh, did they take it from PS4 or not?" Like, was that a direct influence?
Well, there was apparently this suit from PS4 was one of the options.
Apparently, so they're well aware of this is a thing, and
well, Marvel was involved in the creation of it.
Yeah, but John Watts and them were on the writers were very much involved in oh, this is an element we can use, or this is an element we can take here.
But as much as I loved that twist,
yeah.
Which first off, it was like, yes, they brought him back.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people thought they wouldn't happen because he had been in DC, and it's like, no, are you kidding? No one cares about DC.
Those films don't exist.
The Skrull twist.
Oh, the Talos thing.
I love that. And it's like, because Nick Fury, the entire movie is just like. I don't know what they're doing with Nick Fury. He just seems off. And you're just like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to complain about this on the internet. Yeah. And then the reveal happens and you're like, I'm not going to complain about this on the internet.
Right, it's awesome.
Because, first off, I'm always down for more Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah.
Always down for more.
Dude, they got Ben Mendelsohn to come back and do a 30-second clip in a car. And
it's just him makeup. Vamping for a minute. It's just great.
It's great.
And now I'm just like, well, okay, so what is going on in the world?
Dude, they still they set up Kraven perfectly. I know John Watts has said that he wants to do Kraven the Hunter, that's his dream villain for the third one. And they set it up perfectly, right? So there's a famous comic arc in the comics for Spider-Man being hunted by Draven the Hunter. And so now Peter Parker has to go for he's now outed, right? So now it's gonna be interesting to see does this pull Kraven the Hunter out, and is the entire film just him on the run?
Right, and that my question with
which could be a great film,
which would be great, but my whole thing with the moment that reveal happened is I'm like, so is the next Spider-Man gonna be immediately after set immediately after this one.
Oh, that's true. Huh?
Which is, I think, a fair question, especially
Right.
since I think Marvel still has a few releases unannounced.
Right.
We know Sony's going to want another film in like 2-3 years.
Right. So the interesting thing here to note is like, so we're gonna get the slate at Comic-Con. That's like pretty much all but confirmed, right? We're gonna get Phase 4 slate.
Yeah.
And so obviously Black Widow's on there, Eternals is on there, Shang-Chi is on there. There's rumors of Dark Avengers, which has been rumored for a very long time, and like a lot of sources have really confirmed that is being worked on. And then Young Avengers as another one, right? So if they're not doing like another full Avengers film, then yeah, Spider-Man can fit very easily into like a Phase 5 or whatever. I think Strange is also next in there, and then Black Panther is also in there too. So like that, like those are your 8 or 7 films for Phase 4. It could be a smaller phase after Endgame, right? And then,
which I think you kind of need.
Right. You need a palate cleanser because you can't go from like one arc to another. You need a little bit of palate cleanser. And then from Phase 4, you can go back into like Spider-Man and whatever you want to do. Or Phase 5, right? So you can
Phase 5. That's honestly the earliest I expect to see like Fantastic Four. Is Phase 5.
Yeah. So like, and that was kind of the thing too. And there's a lot of speculation going on. So like in the last scene where he's swinging around the city with MJ, you see Stark Tower being renovated with coming soon with 4. With the 4 logo, or like a 4 in a circle coming up.
Oh.
And so a lot of people said that that's either Phase 4, but it could be Fantastic Four too. You never know, right? So they could be teasing that, like, the big rumor was that the buyers of the Avengers Tower are...
I forget what Reed Richards' company
Right, it's the Baxter Building.
Yeah, Baxter.
So, I mean, that could be, a very easy in to like, oh, there's like scientists moving into town, right?
Or like Stark because Stark is gone, Pepper just sells it out type thing.
So.
Yeah, Pepper's sorry she can't make it. And everyone's like, oh, I'm so surprised.
Right. Also, I was looking at that check. Dude, Stark Company makes a lot of money, and hey...
They give what, $55,000?
$55,000? Come on, Pepper Potts! Open the wallet!
Nah. Pepper Potts.
I must be the weird one that noticed that, but yeah, I was like...
No, I noticed that too.
I was like, why?
I noticed that too. I noticed the $55,000, and I was just like... Because you look at the board, and I was like, I think that puts them over the top. Yeah. So it might have just been they were waiting until they knew how far away they were from the goal, and so they could just put it over the top.
Sure.
And that was my attempt to rationalize that amount.
Small amount. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, was this just like Pepper and Happy just kind of holding out to see what happens? Or is it literally Pepper is just being cheap?
Yeah, I don't know. And also, 55,000 is such an arbitrary number.
That's why I was wondering if it was them just literally like, here's the check to put things over the top.
Right.
From Stark. But that seemed to be an odd thing. But no.
What do they call the third movie? If it's the Hunted movie, is it Spider-Man running from home?
Yeah, because they got to keep the home thing going. That seems to be the trend. You have Homecoming,
running from home?
Far From Home, House Arrest.
Away from home. Spider-Man Away from Home.
Homeward Bound.
Oh, that could be good.
And it involves him making friends with a cat and 2 dogs.
So, what if he's under house arrest and Spider-Man locked at home?
Locked at home. Spider-Man ankle bracelet.
Spider-Man house arrest.
I don't know. But yeah, no, it was fun to watch.
Yeah,
I
enjoyed it.
My chagrin about MCU notwithstanding.
Sure.
But
I think we just have 2 different viewpoints of like how we're treating it, because like I'm treating it very much like a 2-hour episode of a TV show.
Well, it's I go in and I know I'm gonna have fun and I know I'm going to enjoy it.
Right.
But it's I guess it comes down to the thing where I think Star Wars on some level, I think Lucasfilm is trying to make things where they can sit down and you can say that they are a film.
Right. I mean, you saw it with Last Jedi, right? Like Last Jedi. As much as people complain about Last Jedi, I know we've talked this to death, but like Last Jedi is an incredible piece of filmmaking.
And I don't think you can say that about MCU, and that's not and that as much as that seems like criticism,
I would say you could say that about the writing of the MCU. That like the writing of the MCU as a whole is special and like deserves to be.
You can't criticize the craftsmanship that goes into the MCU films, but you can sit down and say there's a difference between well crafted and the artistry of film.
Right. Like Last Jedi is a work of art. Like that film from top to bottom is like there are a good 5 to 6 scenes in Last Jedi that should be and will be taught at film school.
Because my thing with Last Jedi too is we can sit there and argue whether or not it succeeded in what it tried to do, but you can't deny that Lucasfilm and Rian Johnson strive to make something that stood up as a piece of film artistry and filmmaking beyond just being a Star Wars film or a blockbuster film or a popcorn film.
Sure.
They wanted to make something more. And as much as we can argue whether or not they were successful, as a Star Wars fan, that's exactly what I want, because that's what Star Wars is.
I want them to push.
I want them to push. I want them to try to make something bigger than it is. And as much as I think that might be the difference between MCU, I don't necessarily think MCU should try to do the same thing because that would entirely violate its current goal and purpose. I just would like them to maybe do things outside of the formula, and I think now is the time to do it. Spider-Man is probably not the character to do that with.
No.
But
I think we're going to see a lot
I think we're going to start seeing that. I hope we're going to start seeing that.
Now's their time to experiment, right? Because it's once you hit the stride and once you understand like Endgame and Thanos is the goal and like you have a story to tell, you really can't shift too much, right? Because you have a clear arc of like tonal arc of where you're headed, and like you can't deviate.
Now's the time to do a Logan. Not that they should do like some like dystopian thing that's not part of MCU, but now's the time where you can do a hard character study that isn't necessarily going to follow the tropes that you've set up in your universe.
Right, and I think we might get that with Black Widow. Because that's the character to do it with. If you're going to do it with a current MCU character, Black Widow's
probably the best choice
prequel
right now, yes.
is the one that you could go dark and gritty with, right? Because like her story's fucked up, right? Like, like that's why that's a character you do it with, because she has the most messed up backstory of any character that we have so far.
Yeah, because I guess my thing is, if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it, and you're going to be culturally relevant. You're too big to not be.
And these characters are too big to not be.
And these characters are too big to not be. It's whether or not in 30 years people are going to still be talking about the thing you made 30 years ago, or if everyone's going to move on and be dealing with like issue 100.
Right. And I think the key thing here is like, if the MCU continues for another 10 years, right? Will people still care about Tony Stark?
Yeah.
In 10 years, right? Maybe
not.
Maybe
and
not.
I think that's the question that MCU has in terms of how they approach things.
Right.
Is yes, they're culturally relevant. Yes, we all are going to make the same jokes for at least 2 weeks that are from Spider-Man. But will we care about Tony Stark in 10 years the way we cared about Luke 30 years later?
Right.
And I think that's a fair question. And I think a lot of that question does come down to the fact that MCU is safe.
Right. And I think this film, Spider-Man Far From Home really kind of nails home the fact of like, all right, Tony Stark's gone. Like this is our final farewell to Tony Stark. So like say goodbye.
Yeah.
He's done. We're not going to like, he'll come up every now and then, but like he's not going to be a major part of this anymore. So like move on. Like this is like next up Spider-Man, right? Like this is it.
Yeah.
And so like closing that door, and so like obviously people cried when Tony Stark died because like they built it up over the course of 10 years and they did a beautiful job doing it. But like does his soul and his character still resonate in films 10, 20 years down the line if this continues, right? Maybe not. And I again, it's like that's I think the question MCU has to answer for itself. Right. And especially if there's a rumor that came out like I think last night or the other night where someone had gone in and found like Facebook pages that were possibly made by the same people that did the other official like they're under the same owners as the ones as the official Marvel pages, and so there's pages for all of the films that are rumored. So like Dark Avengers, Young Avengers, Black Widow, Strange 2, Panther 2, all that stuff, plus a page for Ironheart, which is character Riri Williams, who's a African American teenage girl that ends up is a kind of tech prodigy and ends up making an Iron Man suit, and so she becomes Ironheart, and so she is sort of the modern interpretation of, like, she has taken over the Iron Man position in a lot of the newer Avengers comics, right? So she's an almost brand new character. She's only been around for maybe like 3 to 4 years. So I mean, if that's the direction they're going, and now we have a new character, like if we have like a Shuri type person that's able to sort of garner this kind of goodwill and take over that Iron Man position, does the public just kind of forget about Tony Stark after a while? Like, who cares?
It's a fair question.
Right. Because we're starting to see it too now, of like Marvel's starting to really move towards a younger basis, because like they're getting rid of all the older guard and they're moving a lot younger, so they can go for a very long time.
Go longer,
right?
yeah.
So we'll see. It's a question.
Cap and Iron Man built the foundation. Chris Hemsworth is gonna just take a hammer and run away.
Well, like the thing is too, like my thing was, if they keep him Fat Thor, he could do it for a long time. Because like the big thing with all this stuff, like Chris Evans could probably do it forever too. It's just a thing of like the workout schedule and the routine, and
also like Chris Evans was really starting to get, like, career wise, Chris Evans has been trying to phase out of he's trying to phase out of acting, and so like it got to the point where he was only really doing Captain America and smaller interesting roles because he wanted to work with so and so, like Snowpiercer. Like, how many American A-list actors are going to go work on a Korean film?
Also, Snowpiercer, not bad.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
The universe, like, I question some of the world building because it's like, well, how did this happen?
And it comes out of nowhere too.
It comes out of nowhere, but still fun to watch.
But yeah, like they're obviously moving in a younger direction. But like again, it comes down to like when they don't want to do it anymore. A lot of times it goes back to the thing with Hugh Jackman too. Like, dude, you want to be able to eat like a fucking hamburger every once in a while, right? Like, it's not.
Or if you do eat a hamburger, you don't want to eat 7 of them.
Yeah.
It's like,
so, you know, this is like a lifestyle choice. Like, at what point have I done enough of these to where I don't want to do them anymore, or like the workout routine and the upkeep just isn't worth it to me anymore? But like Chris Hemsworth, if they keep Fat Thor, he can do that forever.
Well,
man.
he's also said that he's willing to come back, but only if Taika Waititi is directing.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I find that an amazing caveat, because that would be the only reason I'd want to go see another Thor movie.
I don't know, man. I'd still watch Thor. Thor.
Though honestly, if Kenneth Branagh came back, I would probably watch that, just because I'd be like, let's see how he handles how Thor has changed.
Yeah.
From Shakespearean to comedy. Well, Shakespearean comedy without the Shakespearean language.
Thor's great. The Thor that they struck in Ragnarok and like carried through has just been great.
It took him from being like oh yeah, Thor, to oh yeah, Thor.
Well, the thing with Thor too is like Thor's story is also fucked up. Thor has the most messed up arc throughout this entire MCU saga.
He basically loses everyone who matters to him.
Yeah, and so it's interesting to see him kind of deal with that with comedy, and like this is the kind of thing where I was talking to my friend. I have a couple of friends that aren't really movie savvy, or like kind of they're just not. They don't view movies like kind of as fans. They just kind of cookie cutter watch things, and so they were really upset that like Thor kind of turned into a baby, and they're like Thor wouldn't do that. Thor's a tough guy. Thor gets over things, and it's like, no, dude.
Did you watch Ragnarok?
Did you watch Ragnarok? Did you watch the beginning of Infinity War? Like, Thor literally caused this entire thing. Like, if the Thor didn't get cocky and just cut off the dude's head, like, it's looking over, right? So
this isn't him going as a baby. This is him completely melting down.
Yeah.
Because everyone he's loved has been taken away.
Yeah.
And it's arguably all his fault.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily all his fault, as much as the only person who could have stopped it at that time was him, and he blew it.
Yeah, and the thing is too is like they were like, well, they just kind of made him comic relief. I was like, no, he's using comic relief because the only way you can tell this story without making it super sad and depressing is to make it comic
funny.
relief.
Yeah, it's. But yeah,
Always a good option.
I do want to know what's going on in Cosmic though, because what is Nick Fury doing?
A lot of people think it's Sword, and which makes a lot of sense too. So like Sword is the more obviously the more aggressive side of Shield, where it's like Shield is there to defend the Earth, while Sword is there to make sure that like, hey, if a threat comes, like we're ready to fight, we're ready to go.
Because my first thought was like, oh god, he's on his like the scrolls. Maybe they're doing Secret Invasion. I'm like, wait, no. Talos is asking him to come back, like, please, I can't do this, type thing. Like, I kind of messed up, sorry.
Yeah, so, and
then he's, like, walking around complaining about, where's my shoes? It's like, oh, he's in charge.
Yeah, he's in charge, and then, like, obviously there's a lot of construction going around him, so I'm assuming it's Sword, which makes a lot of sense. So it's like they have a big space station that's there for more aggressive actions to be taken place by S.H.I.E.L.D. So... makes a lot of sense for that to exist.
Especially since, like, Cosmic Universe is becoming a bigger and more important part of the universe.
Yeah, so especially if they do Eternals, that's going to be a bigger thing. Of course, Captain Marvel's there. Guardians is there. If they do Fantastic Four, of course, will be there. So, yeah, a lot of cosmic stuff coming in. Which cosmic stuff is always sort of the more... I wouldn't say important, but it's like the causality for events that happen on Earth.
Yeah.
Right. So like when you think about it, building up cosmic is more important for the
grand, like the long-term survival of the MCU.
Because you can't have like Secret Invasion doesn't happen if you don't do cosmic stuff, or like Contest of Champions doesn't happen if you don't do cosmic stuff first, right? Like so you need the cosmic stuff to be able to affect the Earth stuff. So.
Yeah. We'll see what they do. I'm sure we'll know more with Comic-Con this week.
I'm excited. I'm ready. My body's ready.
If it's not at Comic-Con, like D23 is coming up soon too.
But do you see the Russos? Russos tweeted a thing out with the date and time of the Marvel panel with Avengers music behind it.
What are they doing? I thought they were being... there was talk going around that they were going to be leaving Marvel and were circling Lucasfilm, and then they ended up doing Magic the Gathering. Yeah. And now, what?
I'm thinking...
I wonder if it's because they re-released at the theaters?
No, because I mean, I would think they're either on the panel to do like a retrospective of like the MCU or something like that. Or they're doing either Dark Avengers or Young Avengers, because that would be like 10 years down the line. Not 10, maybe it'd be like 3-4 years down the line where like they have time to refuel and to like finish their Magic the Gathering stuff, and then they can move right on back to a Marvel project. Because again, like the Young Avengers and Dark Avengers, like those films seem like they would be right in their wheelhouse, because it's the character pieces that they love to do so much.
Character in an ensemble.
Yeah, so it could be great. I'm excited, but like everyone freaked out because they tweeted out a thing of like it was an animated thing of the date and time of the Avengers or the Marvel MCU panel, and then it was just like Avengers music behind it. They didn't no text, no nothing, just the video.
We shall see. I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Yeah, the boring answer is they're doing a retrospective of the MCU,
and watch is the boring answer is the real answer.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there'll be other stuff going on. Like, I mean, it's Comic-Con. Like,
they have to announce something, because they have to announce the slate, or at least they're gonna confirm Black Widow.
They're gonna announce, if they don't announce the entire slate, they're gonna announce some of the slate. But D23 is, I think, also in a couple weeks. Yeah. So
well, remember when they announced Phase 3, they just did it on like a random Thursday.
That's true.
In like a fucking some theater.
They're Marvel. Everyone will come to them. Like they don't have to worry about press coverage. No. But yeah. I think
but they could steal Comic-Con if they did this.
I mean, the last time I was at Comic-Con, Star Wars stole Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Because Force Awakens hadn't come out yet.
Sure.
But anyway, anything else you want to discuss?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm fantastic.
4. It's as just as good as Fan Four Stick.
Fan Four Stick. If you've never seen the Fantastic Four movie that came out a couple of years ago with Kate Mara, go and watch that movie.
You might need a drink first. I haven't watched it.
No.
But...
Don't even drink. Just watch that movie, but don't go into it thinking it's a serious film. Go into it completely as a comedy, and it is one of the funniest movies you'll ever see in your entire life. Then afterwards, after you watch it, go on YouTube and type in Fan Four Stick review and watch that review, and it is also one of the funniest things you'll ever see, and it's fantastic. Great.
All right, you have a homework assignment, people. Other than that, I think we're gonna wrap it out. James, roll credits if you haven't done so already. You can find me on Twitter at Studemeyer. You can find Chris on Twitter and all the fun places as well at Kid Liquid.
Yes, sir.
You can find everything Quality 3 at Quality 3 TV on all the social networks. So be sure to like, share, subscribe, do all the fun things. But other than that, we will see everyone in 2 weeks.